The movie starts as a horde of people have lined up outside a meat shop, which is supposedly selling a never-before-tasted exotic meat. The people are willing to pay any amount for the meat, such as its taste. Days turn into weeks, but the crowd is showing no signs of slowing down. Rather, it's increasing. Even the policemen and politicians have jumped on the bandwagon. One day, a curious customer finally asks the burning question, which animal does the meat belong to? The male butcher responds that it is pork that hails all the way from Iran. Soon, the word spreads in the neighborhood like wildfire, making the meat shop even more crowded. The butchers, who were once struggling to meet basic demands, have now started making six figures. Even the large meat factories are forced to go out of business due to the arrival of this Iranian meat. We are then shown how this meat shop went viral in the first place. Run by passionate butchers, Vincent and Sophie, who also happen to be a couple, the meat shop lies in the outskirts of Paris. At first glance, it looks as if the couple's life is smooth sailing. However, things are very different internally. The shop hardly attracts any customers, and the ones that eventually come are repulsed by Vincent's strange massages on the meat. One day, a group of masked vegan activists attacks the shop. They throw blood at the couple and trash the place before fleeing. Furious, Vincent chases after them and manages to pin one to the ground. After a bit of struggle, he also unmasks the activist. However, the vegan's groupmates quickly arrive at the scene and rescue him. Before leaving, they also beat up Vincent, leaving him agitated. Later in the day, the couple visits their friends Stephanie and Mark's home for lunch. In the kitchen, Sophie cries to Stephanie, revealing how the bank refused to give them a loan and that they are going bankrupt. Stephanie initially tries to cheer her friend up, but soon starts boasting about how her husband makes good money. It's then revealed that Stephanie and her husband Mark also own a butcher shop that's doing very well. After a while, as the two couples have dinner together, Vincent brings up the incident from earlier in which his shop was vandalized. First of all, Mark makes fun of him for not installing any security measures, but then he brings out a rifle and gives it to Vincent. He mentions that the gun is to protect the meat shop from vegan extremists. Vincent does not have a gun license, but he accepts the gift anyway. On their way back home, Sophie tells her husband that she's been thinking of divorcing him as their marriage has become boring. Being the wise man that he is, Vincent ignores her completely, and soon, he spots one of the vegan extremists that trashed his shop earlier. To teach the prick a lesson, Vincent puts his car in reverse gear in an attempt to knock him down. However, he loses control of his car and ends up killing the man. Panicked, he proceeds to dial the police and confess that it was an accident, but Sophie stops him, fearing a long prison sentence. Instead, she suggests that they should copy a serial killer named Michel Francois who dissected his victims and left them in garbage bags all over the city. Vincent realizes that his wife has been watching too many serial killer shows, but he nonetheless agrees to her idea. At night, he places the corpse in his shop and starts butchering it. In the process, an ear falls to the ground, and Vincent's dog gobbles it up in an instant. After dissecting the body for hours, it gets really late, so Vincent plans to throw it early in the morning. The next day, he wakes up late and finds the meat missing. As he frantically looks for it, Mrs. Coignard, a regular customer, arrives at the shop. She mentions that she loved the meat Sophie sold her so much that she is back to purchase more. It turns out Sophie inadvertently sold the human meat to an unsuspecting Mrs. Coignard, mistaking it for pork. Taken aback, Vincent tries to persuade her to buy other pieces of meat, but the lady insists she only wants what she was given earlier. As the two go back and forth, Sophie gets intrigued and demands to try the meat. Unable to reveal the truth in front of the customer, Vincent reluctantly passes his wife a piece of human flesh. But to his surprise, Sophie loves it, making Mrs. Coignard even more impatient. At last, Vincent makes up a story that he acquired the meat from Iran, and that's why it's so rare and tasty. He then reluctantly sells a good chunk of the meat to Mrs. Coignard, and as soon as she leaves, he reveals everything to his wife. Surprisingly, Sophie doesn't seem to mind consuming human flesh. Instead, she suggests selling the meat, saying it might be the best way to get rid of the dead body. As expected, Vincent is horrified by her suggestion and gets ready to throw away the meat. However, before he can do so, another customer enters the shop and demands the meat that Mrs. Coignard purchased. Slowly, the Iranian meat becomes a sensation in the neighborhood, and the couple makes a ton of money after selling it. Seeing the popularity of the product skyrocket, Vincent grows curious, and later that night, he takes a piece of the meat home. He hesitantly tries it, but to his surprise, ends up loving it. Soon, Sophie approaches him and reveals that vegans have extremely pure blood, and that is why their flesh tastes so good. She then suggests that they should hunt the vegan extremists and sell their flesh to generate more income. However, Vincent shuts her down, saying it's ridiculous and immoral. Before going to bed, he also tells her to stop watching serial killer shows. The next day, the couple's daughter Chloe brings home her boyfriend Lucas for lunch. The family serves him a fancy steak, but he straight away refuses. It turns out he's a vegan, and out of respect for him, Chloe also refuses to eat. After the vegans leave, Vincent and Sophie realize that all their preparations for a family meal have gone to waste due to veganism. This enrages them, and Vincent decides to go forward with Sophie's plan to hunt vegans. That night, the couple heads to a vegan restaurant and selects the owner as their first target. They follow him for a while, and Vincent even manages to break into his room with a cleaver. However, at the last moment, he gets cold feet and backs out. With the first attempt a total failure, the demanding Sophie feels that they need more practice. Hence, the next day, the couple comes back with an elaborate plan. They pretend to be vegans and protest outside a supermarket to search for a potential vegan target. Eventually, a skinny guy walks up to them, praising them for their efforts. Sophie convinces him to meet up later in a parking lot so that they can discuss vegan stuff. As per the plan, the couple heads to the spot early and rehearses different ways of killing their target. Soon, the vegan arrives in a van, but to the couple's dismay, he has brought some of his friends as well. Because of this, Sophie and Vincent are forced to abort their plan. After a while, the vegans reveal that they are going to raid a meat shop, so they ask the couple to tag along. Afraid of being exposed, Sophie and Vincent reluctantly oblige. Along the way, they lie about their current identities and mention that they are florists. After reaching their destination, the butcher couple realizes that the meat shop belongs to their own friends, Mark and Stephanie. Sophie starts doubting the idea, but Vincent, who is clearly envious of his rich friends, enters the shop and starts trashing it with the vegans. In the next scene, the couple goes to a restaurant to have dinner. There, they discuss ways to hunt down victims without arousing suspicion. However, they disagree over something and soon get into an ugly fight, causing Vincent to angrily storm off. As Sophie sits there alone, a waiter takes advantage of the opportunity and hits on her. Sophie realizes that they have similar interests, and after a while, the waiter takes her out on a ride. When they arrive outside Sophie's home, things get romantic and the two start making out. However, when Sophie finds out that he is a vegan, she purposely bites his tongue, causing it to bleed. She then invites him inside to treat his wound, to which the waiter obliges. While the guy is inside the bathroom, Sophie walks up to Vincent and briefs him of the situation. As expected, the latter gets nervous and refuses to do it, but the cunning lady starts blackmailing him, saying that she will sleep with the waiter if he refuses to kill. Upon hearing this, Vincent loses his temper and begins to sharpen his knife. But at the last moment, he again chickens out and urges his wife to let the man go. However, Sophie has some other plans. She purposely gets the man naked and proceeds to have intercourse with him. This finally riles up Vincent, so he beats the poor man to death. The next day, Sophie gets a call from her friend, Stephanie, who tells her about last night's vandalism. The butcher couple immediately reach the scene, pretending to be concerned. There, they see Mark arguing with a police officer. It turns out he is the same officer who is investigating the vandalism of Vincent's butcher shop. Afterwards, the officer asks to speak to Vincent privately. Vincent initially panics, but soon it's revealed that the police officer has also heard about the famous Iranian pork and he wants to buy some. Eager to earn more money, Vincent promptly says yes, and later that day the couple again sells human meat. Numerous customers line up for the product, and as a result, it gets sold out within an hour. Hence, they decide to make vegan hunting a regular thing. And, with the help of some deadly weapons and sophisticated techniques, they begin a daily killing spree. By the end of the week, they increase the price of the meat and generate a high profit. One day, while on lunch with their friends, the couple bring along the fake Iranian pork. And like the previous customers, Stefan and Mark also immediately fall in love with the taste. But suddenly, while chewing on the meat, Mark bites onto something metallic. Stephanie, who is a former nurse, instantly recognizes the object as a pacemaker. It turns out that one of Vincent's victims had a pacemaker installed in their heart. He somehow manages to defuse the situation, but the competition between both the couple's meat shops initiates an argument which quickly turns into a physical fight. The husbands begin tussling on the ground, and all of a sudden, Vincent bites off Mark's ear and starts chewing on it. He then spits the ear out, gives Mark a menacing look, and leaves with Sophie, much to everyone's horror. Sophie and Vincent continue killing humans and rake in huge profits. On top of that, their dying marriage is also now saved. One day, the couple attends a vegan festival where Vincent notices a little chubby boy. The cannibal can't resist the urge to think of ways to butcher the boy for his meat. Soon, it dawns on Vincent that he has turned into a psychopath. Disgusted with himself, he decides to leave. However, Vincent and Sophie run into their daughter Chloe and her vegan boyfriend Lucas, who is surprised to see them at a vegan gathering. As they chat, Lucas mentions that several vegans are disappearing as of late. He is sure that it is the work of butchers. When Vincent tries to refute the assumption, Lucas gets upset. He loses his temper and yells at the butcher couple, compelling them to leave the festival. Unfortunately, one of the vegans who previously accompanied the couple to Mark's meat shop overhears the fight and gets stunned to find out that they are actually butchers. Outside the festival, Sophie sets her eyes on a chubby woman and asks her husband to kill her. Sadly, because of the earlier fight, Vincent has regained his vigor to kill people. After finishing the job, they head home. Later that night, as Vincent is butchering the woman, someone knocks on the door. Unfortunately, it's the police officer. Vincent warily opens the door and the two start chatting. The officer reveals that 10 vegans have gone missing, and the butchers have become the prime suspect. Suddenly, the cheeky dog appears and walks behind the officer with a human hand in his mouth. Vincent panics, but he quickly sends the dog away by shouting at him. This puzzles the officer, and Vincent covers it up with a fake story of him suffering from PTSD since the last vegan extremist attack. Soon, the officer leaves, but Vincent gets a feeling that he is onto them. He shares his concerns with Sophie, but she assures him that they cannot get caught since they have gotten rid of all the bodies, and there is no evidence against them. It turns out that Vincent has gotten rid of all the meat of their most recent victims, either by selling them or by scattering them around the city in garbage bags. They have taken these steps in the wake of greater awareness on social media and intensifying search for the missing people. Suddenly, the doorbell rings and the couple find Lucas at the door. He greets them and apologizes for misbehaving with them at the vegan festival. Lucas then explains that he's been very stressed since his vegan friend started disappearing. The cunning Sophie comforts him and signals her husband to make Lucas their next victim. However, Vincent refuses and instead escorts their soon-to-be son-in-law to the door. The next day, without consulting with Sophie, Vincent announces to his customers that he will no longer sell any Iranian pork, much to everyone's dismay. This results in an argument between the couple, causing Vincent to leave the shop along with his dog. Meanwhile, the vegan group that destroyed Mark's meat shop shows up at Vincent's place to take revenge against them for the betrayal. Sophie tries to send them off, but without success. Instead, they tie her up and beat her to a pulp. When Vincent returns from his walk and sees the vans outside, he realizes that something is wrong. Wasting no time, he enters the shop with a cleaver and sees the vegans about to kill his wife. Enraged, Vincent intervenes, and, with the help of his dog, he murders two of them. One vegan manages to impale Vincent in the shoulder, but luckily, Sophie unties herself in the nick of time and finishes him off. The movie then ends as the couple are arrested with 30 murders to their name. It's revealed that Mark and Stephanie were the ones who reported Vincent's odd behavior to the police, which eventually led to the butcher couple getting caught. Due to the severity of their crimes, Sophie and Vincent get a death sentence. Let me know your answer in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible film recaps. Thanks for watching.